So one of the most important factors for the functionality of any group, and it is in part a group communication practice, or at least some group communication practices can lead to it, is what's called group cohesion. And group cohesion is the amount of commitment, the amount of interpersonal liking, and the amount of loyalty individuals feel toward the group process. So it's a measure of commitment, loyalty, and interpersonal liking. Those three factors will determine how much a person feels invested in the outcome of the group process. And when there are high degrees of loyalty, high degrees of commitment, and high degrees of interpersonal liking, that group will function better. It will make better decisions and lead to better outcomes, in other words. So someone skilled at small group communication is able to promote group cohesion. The flip side of this, however, is what's called groupthink. And groupthink is when social cohesion has gone so far that everyone wants to preserve relational harmony over effective decision making. So a really excellent small group communication practitioner is able to produce cohesion without groupthink. There's a couple ways to do that, which I'll explain in a second. But first, just to briefly describe the three factors of cohesion. Commitment is the level of the level in which a person is or feels a desire to participate in the group process. So if there's a group meeting at some point and you're like, I kind of want to sleep in, I don't really want to go to the meeting, you have a low degree of a commitment. If there's a meeting and you know you have to be there on time and you work as hard as you can to get there on time because you're really committed, that means you have a high degree of commitment. Interpersonal liking is just how much you like the other people in the group. Do you see them as friendly, compatible, having the same values as you? Do you want to share your time with them, etc. Loyalty is the extent to which you see some people as inside a group and others as outside. And you conceive the boundary between inside and outside as a kind of strong boundary. I watch a lot of basketball. I was watching an NBA game recently where one of the players from the other team tried to come into the opposing team's locker room to say hello to one of his old ex-teammates. And one of the guy in the locker room, one of his teammates in the locker room started shouting at the opposing player to get him out of there because he thought that the locker room was a sacred space. That teammate had a high degree of loyalty because he wanted to erect a firm boundary between those on the inside and those on the outside. So that's how you measure group cohesion. The question becomes in small group communication, how do you promote it, and how do you promote it without generating groupthink, which is when a group makes really bad decisions because they just want relational harmony. There's one kind of particularly good way of promoting group cohesion, and that's with ritual. Ritual is any kind of communication practice that's performed repeatedly in the same manner. So you can have a ritual handshake, which is a particular communication practice. So with my youngest son, every time I pick him up from school, we have a specific handshake that we do each time I'm there. Lots of NBA teams, I was watching the Cleveland Cavaliers play the other night, and LeBron James was in the middle of some group of people and they were hopping up and down and yelling something. I don't know what it was they were yelling. I imagine they do the same thing every game. That's a kind of ritual communication practice. It's a ritual practice because it's done repeatedly over and over again. Usually it's consistently at the same point in time or a similar point in time. And it reaffirms the loyalty, the commitment, and the interpersonal liking between group members. There's lots of other ways in which an individual can produce group cohesion, but I'll say generally that if you're good at small group communication, you're able to produce group cohesion without producing groupthink at the same time.